Assalamu alaikum. Can we stand for prayer, please? In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, surely being turned to thee, O Allah, trying to be upright, to him who originated the heavens and the earth, and I am not from among the polytheists. Surely my prayer and my sacrifice, my life and my death are all for Allah, the Lord of the worlds. No associate has thee, and this I am commanded. I am of those who submit. O Allah, thou art the King. There is no God but thee. Thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant. I have been greatly unjust to myself, and I confess my faults. So grant me protection against all of my faults, for none can grant protection against faults but thee. And guide me to the best of morals, for none can guide me to the best of morals but thee. And turn away from me the evil and the indecent morals, for none can turn away from me the evil and the indecent morals but thee. And, O Allah, make Muhammad successful, and make the true followers of Muhammad successful, as Adam made Abraham and the true followers of Abraham successful. For surely thou art praiseworthy and magnified, and, O Allah, bless Muhammad, and bless the true followers of Muhammad, as thou did bless Abraham and the true followers of Abraham, for surely thou art praiseworthy and magnified. Ameen. You may be seated. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I further bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. I greet you all in the greeting words of peace and of paradise, as we say in the ancient Arabic language of our ancestors. Assalamu alaikum. How's everyone feeling this morning? How's everyone feeling this morning? All praise is due to Allah. I'm grateful to be alive and to be here to see your faces here as we recite more of the life-giving and the life-saving teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, as given and delivered today by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. There's a lot going on in the world, and we appreciate you taking your time out here to hear some of these life-giving teachings and a word that may inspire us to go home and make a change. We never take for granted what you have to go through to make it to this seat. We know that everyone in some way or form is going through something, family is going through something, so it's important that we preserve the family. It's important that we connect again to God in our own personal life and know that he is not bringing these times of trouble on us to destroy us, but he's bringing these times on us to draw us closer together. All praises are due to Allah. I want to just make a quick statement here from our national headquarters. This came out just this morning for clarification. It says, effective immediately, face masks are optional. They will no longer be required in mosques, schools, or meeting places of the Nation of Islam. So the mask is optional, okay? It doesn't mean that you have to wear it. Doesn't mean that you don't have to wear it. But at the end of the day, this is coming straight from our headquarters, and we'll get more details for you shortly. Is everybody all right? All praise is due to Allah. We don't want that to be a distraction for the meeting. All right, so as we get started here, Minister Farrakhan said this, just to kind of set the tone. He said, I thank Allah God from the depth of my soul for the merciful intervention in our affairs in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever. For it were not for his coming, were it not for his visit among us and his love for us and his search among us, for one who would carry a weighty word that would bring us onto a path, an evolutionary path of growth and development, a journey that would bring us from a state of spiritual, mental, moral, economic, and political death to the path of life, that on this journey we can strive to attain the goal and the best of goals, and this is to be at one with our Lord and with our Creator. All praise is due to Allah for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Did y'all hear the Swan song? Yes, sir. All praise is due to Allah. Let's give Minister Farrakhan a round of applause. All praise is due to Allah. Because this is a man that's on a journey. And he shares his journey with us because Allah has made his life to reflect that of those prophets and messengers and great ones that have come before us. But we can see it in real time that we may get a glimpse of the best of ourselves. All praise is due to Allah. We thank you for going through our brief check procedure. Not meant to inconvenience you in any way, just to let you know that security is paramount here. With everything going on, we do have to pay attention to what's going on around us. Is that right? We have to be careful who we're walking with today. Is that right? We got to be careful what we're keeping on our persons today. Is that right? You got to be careful what you're putting in your body today. Is that right? Trust nothing that this enemy gives you, sends you in the mail for free, offering on the corner. Is that right? God first. All praise is due to Allah. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said, let us submit to him and live in peace with money and good homes and with friendships of God and the righteous. There is nothing that you and I have to fear today but God himself. Let me say that again. There's nothing that we have to fear today but God himself. All praises are due to Allah. Praises be to Allah. So, most honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Farrakhan are our rock. They are our foundation, our motivation, our inspiration of why we do what we do. They cleaned us up, and they're still cleaning us up. Let me make that perfectly clear as well. To clean off the stain and the shame and the stigma of a slave existence. Huh? Nobody cared for us when they let that physical chain go. Huh? They left us to die. But God came to raise up one to show us our potential. All praise is due to Allah. Took away that slave name, is that right? Yes, taught us to eat the right food and the best foods at the best time, is that right? Gave us our own culture. Gave us a knowledge of our own civilization. All praises are due to Allah. Taught us to think different. Taught us to think about being independent and doing for self and building an independent nation. No black leader, no organization among us has been as successful for this amount of time over the last century to reform our people than the Nation of Islam and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. That's right. In our Muslim program on the back of every Final Call newspaper, the messenger of God says that we want freedom. Is that right? We want a full and a complete freedom. We want separation from this enemy. We want freedom, though, to be ourselves. In order to be yourself, you got to know yourself. Is that right? And to know yourself, you got to have a love for your people. The government says that we're treasonous for wanting to go out and tell our people who they are and tell them that they're not what the enemy has made them. Huh? And Minister Farrakhan stands before the world as a man that is telling the world the truth, not just blacks in America, but this man has touched every continent where the original darker people of this earth have lived, and they are responding to the call of Minister Farrakhan. We want freedom. We want justice, huh? Justice applied equally to all, Now, you see a lot of our people talking about pray for Ukraine. Is that right? See, a part of separation is you got to let them do what they're doing, and we got to get busy doing what we're doing. Is that right? We got a war going on right here. Why are we worried about them over there when they've done nothing for us? In fact, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad says some of the most vicious of the Caucasian race are in that area of the world. Huh? Don't say that you'll pray for something that you're not willing to fight for. Don't say you're willing to pray for someone you're not willing to fight for. We should be fighting for our own. All praises are due to Allah. Because in a few days, they may have our children, our nephews, our nieces, our daughters, and our sons on planes going over there to fight for a freedom that they don't even experience here in America. We got to be careful what we're asking for today. The fight is right here in reforming our own community. Is that right? All praise is due to Allah. So Minister Farrakhan said, we got to start praying for one another. You hear me? We got to start praying for one another. Mention the believers in your prayers. Mention Minister Farrakhan and the most honorable Elijah Muhammad in your prayers. Mention the family of the messenger of God in your prayers. And pray to Allah that he guides us through this time. But he didn't come 9,000 miles that we would be unsuccessful. He came that we would live, Minister Farrakhan said. All praises are due to Allah. So brothers and sisters, let us stay prayerful. Let us stay watchful, clinging to the rope of Islam. Our righteousness will sustain us in this day. And, as we listen today and we continue to break down this Swan song of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, there's a message in that for us. Now, we're going to hear from our regional minister here in the Delaware Valley, who has been following and listening to the minister for a long time. A lot of what the minister said was not new, but it was directed for this time period to remind us. So brothers and sisters, I want you to open your ears and open your hearts and open your minds today, because this is just a reminder of what we got to do for ourselves, but we have experience here. And if we would follow that experience, we can make it through a dark hour. So at this time, I want to bring up our student regional minister here in the Delaware Valley, your brother and mine, Minister Rodney Muhammad. Bring him up with a round of applause. Assalamu alaikum.
Oh, man, thank you so much. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, the one God, to whom praise is due, the Lord of the worlds. We thank Almighty God, the revealer of all truth and the sender of all prophets, of whom we make no distinction. We thank Allah for what he revealed to Moses of the Torah. And we thank Allah for what he revealed of the gospel to Jesus. We thank Allah for the revelation of the Holy Quran given to Muhammad of Arabia, but as a student of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, a place and time where the stammering tongue is speaking clear, covering the prophecies in a word, in a time of the fulfillment and a time of the fulfiller of prophecies. We thank Allah for the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, because he learned from God who came in person, which is basic to our teaching, that God is a man. Everything you're looking for in God, he put it in man. There's nothing magical coming from anywhere else, because if you can think of it, if you can sit and think of what God could do best for you, he already thought about it. But it shows you that there's more to you and more to me than we give even ourselves credit for. We thank Allah who came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad. As the minister said, one whom the world knows very little or nothing about. What we can tell you is that those who were opposed to him at the time of him making himself manifest, they can't find him. They can't show us a grave. And at the Library of Congress, where all deaths are recorded, he's not listed. Missing persons, special units who search down folks that have been missing. They call it a cold case, but they warm it up, where they go and look for the person and find them and bring closure to the mystery of a so-called disappearance. Man, that alone should have you at least thinking about an unusual man who made his way into the black community and brought about an unusual reaction to his coming. He raised one whose mind is the closest thing to God that you ever gonna experience. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad. That's right. People who were in gross ignorance just believed that he met with God and they began to do fantastic things. They didn't know a lot. And you know, faith is like that. When faith, the light of God touches you and you know very little about God, you find yourself making fantastic strides in your own life. Then as time grows and you know a lot more about God, you're doing a lot less about God. And you're moving a lot slower pace than you were moving from when you first made contact with God's light. Nevertheless, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad proved that they could not break him down. And now it's being proven that they cannot break down his student. If people say, well, we should accept Marcus Garvey, there's nothing to be ashamed about. Because Mr. Garvey had a good program. But if we say, okay, who is the disciple of Marcus Garvey so we can go join up with him, you can't find him. Because he did not produce one. What about Noble Drew Ali, who tried to bring another version of Islam tailored for the condition of black people in North America? Well, let's go join up with him. Well, who's his disciple so we can get behind him? You cannot identify him. But when it comes to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, most people that know him and know of him don't know him by directly meeting him. It is because of the disciples of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that he is known. The people that have responded to his light never sat at his table. I'm one of them. I don't need to sit at his table because one that did sit at it is sufficient for me. I sat at a table of somebody who sat at the table and he never met with God, but he sat with the man who did. And when I sit at the table of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, their student, servant, and apostle, I can feel the power of the man who met with God, though I even never met him. So we have something very great going on. And even if, as we carry out our little assignment, which can be found in the book of Ezekiel, warn then the wicked about their wickedness. And if thou warnest them not, then the wicked who take pleasure in wickedness, I will destroy them. But since I have sent you to warn them, if thou warns them not, and I come to destroy them for their wickedness, know that I will require their blood at your hands. So to warn is the job of us at the mosque. We don't have no power to bring you reward or punishment. Only God has that. But after a clear delivery of the message that God has brought on his own coming, after a clear delivery, belief is not in our hands. I can't make you believe. Disbelief is not in our hands. I can't even make you disbelieve. All of that becomes up to us once we hear the message. And whether we believe or whether we disbelieve, whatever side of the equation we come out on, all we can say is that if we did not fail to warn, then we got the blood up off of our hands. So we're only really here hoping that we who believe can make a narrow escape out of a world that's dark and getting darker. So I thank Allah for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I thank Allah that God guided him in the Swan song. So everybody that's talking about the minister is coming down to a close. Realize this is just a juncture in the race of life. And the ones that's coming down to a close is us, who's losing pace with him and patience with God. And so in their names, I greet us with the greeting words of peace, salam alaikum. And we really can't find discussion, as we talked last week, from the book of Revelation, revealed to Mr. Yaqub. Why would Yaqub receive a revelation? Wasn't he one of the wisest of the scientists? You can be wise as hell. But I found out, but when you're evil, even in your wisdom, you fail to be able to tune in. So the messenger said, yeah, he was wise, but he couldn't tune in. He was the only one of them that could not tune in. So if we had not revealed to him the outcome of his work, because that's all you got to leave is your work. Once you go to the grave, that's it. Your body is not getting back up to do nothing else. What's left of you is your work. What you choose to do in life. As the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us in words, you know, your life is made for you to search out your purpose. Doesn't mean you can't have pleasure in life, but, you know, for those of us that think we just got to have enough so we can keep having pleasure after pleasure, you live with your soul empty while you in the Cancun or in Aruba somewhere, Six Flags, Wildwood, Boardwalk. It's saying you can't handle. Malcolm used to walk along the boardwalk, but he'd walk like a man that had a purpose. When you got a purpose and you're involved in a work based from your purpose, let me tell you something. Sometimes you need to vacate it. That's where vacation comes from. Just so you can step outside of it and look at it. And it's called recreation. Break it down. Read the Latin prefix meaning again. And you creating all over again in your mind. So as you come back to purpose and the work that comes out of the purpose, you can come back now with greater fire and greater imagination that God gives us, so that you can attack your assignment and post. That's why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad always said, think about your job. Think about it. Huh? So, last week, you know, in what was revealed to Yaqub, Jesus looked at a certain mosque and he said, I know thy works. You look good on the outside. Quoting the minister, quote the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he said, but the inside you're dead. And if thou fails to watch, after this warning, the little life you got left, you getting ready to lose it. Go get it. He was telling them that you got nice uniforms, you got good decorum, but really, spiritually, you're dying because you're infested with sin. That's what I heard in the Swan song. You're grown comfortable with iniquity, and you sin as easy as you breathe. Breathing is so easy, you forget you was breathing. I just breathed a breath 5 seconds ago. I ain't even got the power to go back and get it. Said, let me use that one again. If God don't send me another breath, I'm gone, and so are you. That's how much we're dependent on him. Just think for a minute. And when you breathe with two nostrils to take in, right, oxygen and release carbon dioxide. Wow. So in spiritual life, the nostrils to breathe in the word that gives life are really the two ear gates. They serve just like the nostrils there. And breathing in the word of God, faith cometh by hearing, hearing by the word of God. It's worthy of our belief and worthy of our faith, the word of God. And the more you breathe it, the more life you're getting. The less you breathe it, the more death is setting in where life was. Yeah, so, the minister said, this is not the end of Farrakhan, but it might be the end of you, meaning you and me. So, not his swan song, but ours. Nice having you around. It's been a good ride. He had already warned us that some have grown tired of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teaching. And so, I was looking at the 14th surah of the Quran here in a section called Revelation Dispels Darkness. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Look, I, Allah, am the seer. Don't care what you saw. Go back and look at what I saw. Don't care what you think you see. Make sure you check what you see with what I'm seeing. For I, Allah, not we, don't throw yourself in there. I took myself out when I looked at that again. Make sure, because sometimes you don't take yourself out. You still running your damn mouth while God is talking. So I said, let me shut up. I, Allah, am the seer. So the little teacup of wisdom that I have learned from God through one of the most exquisite teachers we ever gonna get on this planet, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. If I ain't learned nothing else, I need to shut up and get out of God's way. This is the last lap, and I'm about to mess it up. Being so damn wise and being dumb and foolish at the same time, because wisdom is recognizing the real teacher in the first place. I, Allah, am the seer. I know best, he says, what'll make you a success, and I know best what'll make you a failure. Now, you've given it your best shot, if I can use that little cheap term. And how do you like where the shot has taken you? Are you happy with yourself? Are you happy with your life? Are you happy with the way things go? Are your prospects good? See, I'm the seer. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, we are at, I had to think this over, 100% dissatisfaction. So I said, boy, I was thinking the righteous are really unhappy. 100% dissatisfaction means the righteous and the wicked are unhappy. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said the wicked won't change. They just want to keep the wickedness in the change. But we can't get change where we are absolutely refusing to undergo change. That's where we are in the black community. Why are you fighting for this? Because we want change. We want black judges. We want a black mayor. We want a black this. We want that. Why? Because we want change. But you know what? Black people don't want to change. So now, in the Swan song, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has warned the black community. He's warned black people as a whole. I heard him say it from his mouth, which now told me, well, man, then our job to warn, the pace got to step up. We have been deceived in the way of religion. We say, well, you know, now I'm straight. I got Islam. You got to be careful with Islam. Because when we slipped into darkness again in 1975, it wasn't because Islam wasn't being taught. The minister taught us Islam was being taught on a luxury basis. That's what Yaqub did. By the time you teach that kind of Islam, you can't see nothing that's coming. You'll be blindsided except something be revealed to you. So Mr. Yaqub had a book revealed to him. Because when you're wicked and wise, you're wickedly wise. Can't say wisdom ain't there, but you can't tune in. I, Allah, am the seer, a book which we have revealed to thee, that's past tense, that thou mayest bring forth men by their Lord's permission from darkness into light, to the way of the mighty, the praised one. So if God is going to bring the darkness that people have prevailing over them, if he's going to, he didn't get rid of the darkness, he brought them that were in darkness out of the darkness they were in into the light. That means he went into the darkness now and waged a convincing argument. Because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, you're colored by the thing that you're in. Your mind is shaped by what you have come up in. And in the Swan song, the minister said, well, part of what we come up in is the street, but if you keep thinking like the street, you won't get out of it. Well, you know, everything real. Really? This is the 14th surah of the Holy Quran. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that we're made up with 14 billion brain cells, all made to think right, even as the planets are made at right angles. So brains, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan said, brains are real, but falsehood is false. And so false teachers are using real brains to promote falsehood. God. And it gives him power because when someone oppresses you, they can have guns where you don't, or more powerful guns than the ones that you have. They can have money where you don't, because the most money we could ever have can only only come through our unity, because most black folks got the same amount of money, which has most black folks in survival mode. So the only way to come up with trillions and trillions of dollars, black people would have to unite. And you could produce that overnight. You have to be, well, so they don't want a voice that can come into darkness and wage a convincing argument to make the people who are trapped. You know what darkness is in physics? It's the absence of light. So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, it's the equivalent of an ignorant state. Well, y'all hate white people. We hate ignorance. You want to present one of the four devils, the first one is ignorance. That's a devil in the mind to keep you from knowing. Because knowing is the word that the word knowledge comes out of. And if he's the best knower, then the knowledge that comes from God is the greatest knowledge. And it's designed to address our greatest need. Who we are, the minister said, is so important, because if you don't know who you are, you don't know what to expect from yourself. I don't know what to do because I don't know who I am. Once you know who you are, you know better what to expect from yourself. You're the civilized man, civilized woman. And it goes back even farther than that. As the Honorable Louis Farrakhan has taught us, you know, when a tree or any life in the ground, its roots must go deep enough in order to find nourishment from the earth to feed the life that has the root. And as it is with roots that must reach deep, a people must be able to reach far enough into their past to find the mental and the spiritual nourishment to build them into that kind of strength. Well, we got that kind of teaching because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, his root reached all the way back to God's own self-creation. Ain't nobody going no further than that. Everything else, now that this has come, is branch knowledge. When you're climbing a tree and want to go out on a limb, if you don't calculate properly, that limb's strength against your own weight, that limb could crack and you come tumbling down. So it is with us. We don't really understand the weight of our condition because when you're in ignorance, you're in darkness. When you're in darkness like that and you can't calculate your weight, you're trying to live off some branch knowledge. And we're falling and tumbling the whole time. I don't understand how we could be in this situation. We got so many PhDs. I don't understand how we got BA degrees, we got BS degrees, we got master degrees and everything. And look at our condition. Branch knowledge can't take us where we need. Only a root knowledge can take us where we need to go. The darkness was what we were in when Master Fard Muhammad came. And the darkness had us in a dead state, mentally, right? The Swan song is not about a people who are in darkness and making their first contact with the light. Swan song is here to save a people who came into the light and fallen back into the darkness. Scripture calls it the second death. Could be the death of faith. Faith that's going to be needed more than we ever needed it. You know, the planets could not do what they're doing were it not for the sun. The sun's light, despite how dark it is in space, it's got the power to bring planets into its own orbit. We know it's the sun's orbit because, as we are taught, even though there are 9 planets, they're all moving at the same speed. That's not a decision made by each planet. That's a decision made by the creator of the planets and the one that's got the light to pull them into its own circle of planets. We got a speed and a rate that we're supposed to move by. When a man who is the light-giving sun has called us into a circle and an orbit, we don't have the chance to set the speed at what we want it to be. He sets the speed for us, and he sets the time. When you're in an orbit, you're traveling through space, making a life form. And if you make the life form that path produces, it will produce automatically a range of activity. So each planet has its own range of activity. The earth has its own range of activity, and we're made up out of the earth because earth is headquarters for the universe. When you're in ignorance, as we've been saying over the weeks, the Negro took 1 bath a week. What does the light look like after you come out of darkness into the light? You take a complete bath every 24 hours. I know it sounds simple to you because people jump in and out the shower. We didn't used to live like that, though. That started somewhere. The Negro was eating all day. Right? Yeah. Just eat all day. But the light started talking about 1 meal a day. And you can live that kind of life. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad talked about being so clean and clear, the iPhone won't have nothing on you when it comes to tuning in. To brothers and sisters, the power of our thought. You know, if a man can think he's a woman and think it hard enough, his features begin to soften. Same as a woman think they're a man, and their features begin to harden because the flesh is subject to the power of the thought. What's the speed then, Brother Rodney, of the light from this sun, this spiritual sun that is a fast thinking, quick moving, fast thinking, right? Right down to the modern time. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, you must remember, we're in a hurry. This world is closing down. If you don't feel it's closing down, you'll move around lackadaisical and casual because you think you got all the time in the world. I'm looking at our clock. It's a man. And his actions tell us more about what time it is than CNN and Fox News. The Honorable Minister Lewis, you say, well, you know, war is breaking out. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, war got to break out. War for a warlike people is designed to break his power. Europe will be a graveyard, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad predicted. America will be drawn into war, as he predicted. They will send people by the tens of thousands overseas. They'll come back in the 5 and 10s. All the rest will be body bags. God is getting rid of his enemies. But his work is twofold. It ain't just to destroy this world. It's not just to destroy the people who rule the world. It's to deliver his people and warn us to escape the destruction that is coming down. The darkest hour in the night is just before the light comes. In fact, as the light is making its way, you'll see a period where light is mixed with darkness. And without right guidance, that can bring a lot of confusion. I wanted to look at a couple of words from the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, if you don't mind. He's going over a situation that people think they know about, where a man teaches people and makes disciples that go out before the world and capture the imagination of the world, and we just want to overlook the teacher. He says what I said to Brother Malcolm. He's my teacher. And he said, we're sitting in the car, he's driving, he hunched his shoulders. See your reaction. I didn't say anything wrong. He's telling me about my teacher. I'm going to talk to the teacher. Is this true? He wants to ask the teacher, is this true? Not that I give a damn. I didn't come here to gossip on my teacher. I came here to hear the wisdom of God from my teacher. I want you to check my history. This is dealing with the clear delivery of a message. Well, you know, the messenger had farmland, and we had chicken farms, and we had meat processing plants, and we had restaurants and everything. Yeah, you had all that and lost the one that gave you all that through preaching. If the Honorable Elijah Muhammad hadn't opened his mouth, if the hypocrites had shut his mouth, if the government had shut his mouth, if Rome had shut his mouth, or Mecca had shut his mouth, you wouldn't have never had all that. You only had that because the messenger of God was talking based on God bringing him out of darkness into his own light. As soon as we did not hear directly from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad anymore, we did not reflect on what he had already said. Hungry for something new, they gave us Arab scholarship. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, Arab scholarship is alluring, but it can't save your life. It looks fascinating at some points, but it can't guide you correctly. Well, this ain't what the messenger taught because it's not revelation. It's scholarship. It's what somebody went into what was already revealed, but something was revealed to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And that's what's shared with us. That's why he didn't want you looking like an Arab. He did not want you looking like a Pakistani. Not because of hatred, but because of love for God and what God wanted you to look like. All praise is due to Allah, except your own. As the minister saying, be yourself. So he said other people were saying they were defending the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but they defended like somebody that had an axe to grind with Malcolm. See, if you're envious of your brother, you can't even correct him right. Because in your correction is your hatred of your brother. That's the difference between me and you. I loved Malcolm, but I was not Malcolm's follower. As long as he was with Elijah, I was going to be with him. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said his job as a messenger was a clear delivery of the message. See, I'm looking at the word clear now. He ain't just being right and exact. He's clear of hatred for his own people, even though we were made to hate each other. Just like the scripture says of Abel, though thou hast stretched out thy hand against me, neither will I raise my hand against you. See, that's the Honorable Elijah Muhammad running from the hypocrites and the would-be assailants, and God could have showed him how to trap some of them. But he just kept moving around city to city, and one was talking about eating a kernel of rice. A day to Elijah Muhammad was dead. They got deadly. I heard the minister say, of all the hypocrites that he's got, 9 of them are deadly, and they've already gotten inside the door. A hypocrite is not somebody that sits afar off. They're sitting right next to you. Well, we got to figure out how a hypocrite thinks. The minister said the mind of the hypocrite is Satan's mind. Go read what the devil's mind is. That's the mind of a hypocrite. Well, what is the devil thinking? Thou hast caused me to remain disappointed. A hypocrite is a disappointed individual. They may be sitting amongst those who are joyous and happy to receive the light, but they ain't too happy about it. But they sitting amongst people that are happy. You got to be clear of envy. Because if you envying somebody, even when you're trying to bring the message, your envy is tainting and contaminating the message. A clear delivery. You're impatient and annoyed with black people because we continuously go the wrong way and we continuously get the unfavorable outcomes from the wrong way. That can get annoying. But you got to be clear of the feeling of annoyance when you're bringing the warning, so that the warning has the spirit of the God who came and warned in the first place. That's a hell of a task. The minister even talked about in our organizations, people getting into the leadership of our organizations that don't have our best interests at heart. They come with a nasty spirit, and they come more with an agenda to break your spirit than to help build you up in a little spirit you're trying to get. If we're going to come into the light and stay in the light, then the man who called us to faith. See, that word has got to help, because the Son, like we're made up out of everything out of the universe. And the Son was willed by Allah after his own self-creation, which took 6 trillion years to come into existence. The molecules of the sun are lined up like soldiers, perfectly in ranks like soldiers. And when the molecules are lined up and they all singing the same song, they're all moving in the same direction at the same time, they magnetize. And life that's out there going any which way, they start lining up. The minister asked the question, how? Can you be a disciple and you can't raise the dead? How can you be a disciple and blind people after encountering you can't see? Deaf people can't hear, dumb are still speaking dumb after you done talked with them from ages on end. You know, you go into scripture, I don't know of any disciple of Jesus that could raise the dead. You help me. When they were boasting about the crowds that was coming out and the people that was listening to them, Jesus told them, don't rejoice. You measuring spiritual work on commercial terms. You have 1,000 people following you. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan, he said, look, he called the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, dear Holy Apostle, 71 million. No, 71,000, I'm sorry. Came out to hear your teaching today. He was ready to get some applause. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, brother, the day is coming when you go to the temple and you ain't going to find nobody to believe but yourself. He said, why would he say that? We're winning the people. He said, sure as I'm standing before you, the words of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad came to light and realization. He said he was sitting across the street, stirring his coffee with some of his tears dropping in the cup. They was in the temple, full. People that had come in under his voice and now going in the other direction than the one the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had us in. He told some of them, and Mother Tynetta remembered, you'll be able to fit my followers in a taxi cab. And this is all over. So go on, Peter and Matthew, and that you boasting you got a house full, that's good. But who's the house filled up with? What kind of people are they? Why did they come? We understand the power of magnetism. So yes, there's going to be an attraction because unlike attracts. And in a world of darkness and unrighteousness, it's only natural you're going to be attracted to it. But it's going to test you on why you came. It ain't going to leave you alone in that. Dear God in heaven. So now, the minister said, well, I've been through my test. Woo. Now it's time for you to go through yours. So I looked, I said, yeah, Allah guided him to talk about things he's talked about before. But you know what? It's a summary. I mean, you teach a class before the real exam. Little old fight you had with some local person or something, that ain't no real test. Not with the one that's coming. He gives you a good teacher gives you a summary to remind you of what we've covered. To give us a chance to review. This ain't Jeopardy. You can just answer this question and that one. As Brother Jabril said, this second term examination of Minister Elijah Muhammad is an open book exam. The answer's already there, so you coming up with the answer, you ain't impressed nobody. I can't impress nobody just coming up with the open book exam is not designed for you to find the answer. They put the answer there. They want you to find the formula that got to the answer. That'll make you and I what we need to be so we don't have to sing a Swan song.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He said, I'm not going into it today, but I just want to say this to you. When you follow a divine man, do you think the road to God is just like you want it to be? Do you think the road to oneness with God is the way you want it to be? Wow. He said, yeah, so 5 o'clock the next morning, Malcolm called him and said, well, brother, I know you said you're going to tell the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I hope that you'll wait a little while so I can get my letter off to him first. I said, well, brother, my head is so messed up after what you said, it's going to take me some time to see how to write the man. I love the man I've committed my life to about something that disaffected what the student had to say. He said, because sometimes, brothers and sisters, when you bring a complaint, the complaint says more about the one who brings it than the man or woman you're complaining about. So, you know, we have so much to consider, because if the darkest hour is before this real light comes, and we were conceived in darkness, as student minister Ishmael is covering some of that, about the real trials that were in the womb before we even got here. We were conceived in darkness just to show us that our existence had God with us from the very beginning. Amen? When you and I were conceived in darkness of the womb, that's the darkest hour because no light can get to the womb. The womb's darkness is equivalent to the triple darkness in the beginning. And as Sister Ava said, the first man had a womb. He produced a second self so that every man that came after him would have to come by a woman before they came into existence. And when you're reading in who is God, who and what is God, that the man that can't see the woman properly will never see God. Huh? Because he made the woman and every man, aside from the originator of the heavens and the earth. Allah conceived himself in darkness. So he makes our own beginning to resemble his own. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, the material in the darkness is the last thing to come in the presence of light. Allah was in the darkness and there was no light. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, so he became a light unto himself. That's why he's the originator. He's not just sovereign ruler, he originated. That's the manufacturer. He sets up the formula and the rules of universe. And because the material in the darkness is the last thing to come in the presence of light, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, he took the darkness for his color. So there would be no last to himself. We're not original people because we're black. We're black because we're original. Black was a choice of the living God. And everything else that we see came out of black. The origin of man starts with us, right? So all of that says to me, we're made for this hour. We're tailor-made for, I don't care how we see ourselves. Even as Prophet Muhammad said, he who searches for the believer's faults, Allah searches out his and then brings him to humiliation. When I came in the nation, Minister Abdul Akbar Muhammad, when he used to teach on problems in the mosque, he used to say, you know, you got some of us, we looking for dandruff in a dust storm. Now, dust flying everywhere. Old boy got dandruff. Sister guy, that means you're looking for the smallest thing wrong in somebody that came out of darkness. You know, you're in darkness and there's no ray of light, and somebody's talking to you about how tall you are, how short you are, and that you're likely to believe them because you can't see yourself and you can't see them. The only way you're going to see yourself and then is light. And then you can say, well, I really was this tall as opposed to what they said. You're not going to make the corrections from the white man's world and his false teaching. But I wanted to say that Allah was not known until he brought about a creation that he makes himself known in. This last one, like the first one, is unknown. How do you know? Because he's teaching one day in the temple, and he took acceptances, and Elijah Muhammad got in the line. But when he came up to him, one of the things he said to him is, I know who you are. The man pulled him closer to him and said, yeah, but who else knows? Don't nobody even know who I am. Then he said, don't tell them who I am till I'm gone. Then you can preach this. He started preaching it. They said, man, he's making more out of the man than the man made out of himself. That's the ministry class. That's not just the common man on the streets of Detroit. That's in the ministry class. They didn't even see him properly. So I heard the minister say, you don't know who I am unless you know who I am in the Word of God. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, there's no such thing as God saying, let us make a black man. Why? Because the black man was made up out of the atom of space. And I remember in the knowledge of God and the knowledge of self, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, being an English major, took the word atom and interchanged the consonant T and D for Adam, the first man, because the atom makes up everything that's in us. And everything that you find in the first man, you find in the last man. What we have not had from the originator to the coming of Master Fard Muhammad is somebody who could manifest everything that was in the originator. So the originator willed somebody into existence. Master Fard Muhammad is the fulfillment and the perfection of the originator. There is a connection. All praise is due to Allah. So he makes his color to correspond with his condition. I mean, he's the most qualified to bring us into the light because the messenger said, you created yourself in the right way to guide your own way through the darkness. Now that's important. You guided yourself the right way. See, Sunday school was already built in our nature. If you never went and had religious instruction, when you do wrong, you'll feel guilty because you already constructed out of principles. What happens now in our houses of religious instruction in that it helps us to reinforce because someone has come to the planet that has almost cut off the remembrance of God. Just say on a Sunday, in the right season, Let's go learn. Let's just take an hour and a half and learn something about God. I would, but the Eagles are coming on. You say, well, how can that be? How can you listen to a ball game? You know, you're trying to measure the thing. But see, you're in a world of sport and play. Sport and play means that's his sphere of activity. And if you don't have something magnetically that can pull you beyond the sphere of the white man, you operate in what he set up for you. World is a sphere of mental activity. And you can get more enjoyment keeping up with the race. I ain't saying don't watch the games and that. People get something out of doing that, but we're supposed to have a purpose in life. And a people who's oppressed, most of our time should be spent getting knowledge and wisdom. And we spend very little time in that. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, the folly of the present world is what we do more. So, you know, as we close, last week I said, it can't be said enough, I wouldn't, it's up to you. I don't want you saying, Brother Rodney told us this, you know. Just through experience, if you sitting up, I ain't gonna sin no more, you guaranteed to sin again. Messenger said that's why we pray for Allah to forgive us, because man is weak. Ever falling into sin. But if you get on fire for God, that's what they was charging him with in Revelation. Said, what's wrong with your mosque? I use the word mosque so we could bring it up because he's talking about the membership. So we said the nation's program. He said, if you don't change, I will come and take your candlestands from thee, or thy lampstands. And the lampstands spiritually talks about your status among righteous people. I'll just come and take that from you. So, this is such a powerful thing that God has caused the Honorable Louis Farrakhan to do. And I found myself wishing, because he has so many notes, just wishing it was going to be a part 2. But you know what? That 4.5 hours is more than enough for me. Let me just try to keep going over things, because we're not looking properly. And a lot of times when you can't see yourself, if you're looking at a building that's 200 stories high and somebody jump off the roof, you don't even know that they've fallen till they get to a certain place. By the time you look at maybe the 40-something floor, the 3rd floor, for some people, depends on your level of observation, you say, oh my God, somebody's fallen from the top. America was in such a high place in the minds of the ignorant. They can't see her fall. You can see it. Somebody has helped us to see it, but some people don't even know she stumbled. The minister had to correct Barack Obama, saying America is back. And anybody that tells you she's not don't know what they're talking about. He said, brother, I got to take issue with that. All the tall tale signs don't show nothing about nobody being back, show about you falling apart. And the minister's last message in person to us, other than the Swan song, was the unraveling of a great nation. And she is coming apart. And the weapons manufacturers are about to wax fat on making things that they can sell. Do you know a missile costs over $1.5 million? Just one missile. And Russia now has gone to the Middle East to get 16,000 volunteers to come help the Russians take Ukraine. They're getting Syrians. Said, we helped Syria in that, so now we want some of those. And the minister said, just like ancient Rome, in the last days, the Romans were too busy, he said, eating grapes and having orgies. So in the last days of Rome's fights, hardly no Romans were in the military. They were getting them from everywhere else and filling up the guard with people that Rome had ruled over. So now you see them pulling from Russia. Soon you'll see the Americans. Even in the American Revolution, you got to remember England went and got 30,000 Hessians from Germany, hired mercenaries to fight the 13 colonies. That's where the headless horseman comes from. He was not an American, he was a headless horseman he was one of the Hessians. Sleepy Hollow was just a legend. But it's telling you that the Germans, why do you think you got Germantown? It was enough of them here to set a town up inside the city of Philadelphia, one of the earliest capitals of this nation. It's the Hessians who had babies and everything, and they never went back. They're going to be looking for black bodies. The only reason they've had the wars that they've had, because after Vietnam, the uprising was so great with the draft. But they're going to have to go back to the draft to get people this time. Too many people got prosthetics on. Too many people got what's called the post-war syndrome. They're killing their wives and themselves. See, the whole story not being told. People done stopped looking for a job in the military because they realize they sending you over. They said, we got a job for you, all right. Put your body on the line. The only military worthy of the black man standing in the ranks of is the fruit of Islam. God's own army. But it's hard to see that when you don't see a nation falling. Because they've fallen from such a high place, you ain't looked up. You need enough light in your life to be able to see it. Hear it in the comments and the reports coming over the news. Look at the level of confusion that's not happening organically. It's absolutely being manufactured by Master Fard Muhammad to disorganize them in their thinking and confuse them in their thinking. If it weren't for that, man, he'd be so perfectly organized, he'd be able to get us to go over there and fight. They'll tell you, don't follow Farrakhan, because that's hate teaching. But they'll put you in a uniform and send you to men, women, and children that you ain't never seen before in your life, never called you a nigger, never lynched you, never raped your woman, never sold your baby, never worked you from can't see morning to can't see night, but tell you to go over there and kill them. That's a hate teaching. Why are you killing them? We hate them, you know. We against them. Who's we? You can't even find the country on a map. Who is we? No, he hates them. Taught you to hate them. He wants them dead, taught you to kill them. But Farrakhan is teaching hate teaching. See? So I thank you all for taking the time out with us. And we hope you come back. But if we just decide, hey, sounds good, like some brother asked when he heard the Swan song was coming, is Farrakhan going to be giving some solutions? I said, he is the solution. This is not about, is the nation coming up with a solution to, we've offered solutions. You don't want it. You want to go in the street and stop people from killing, and you look like the killers. You don't even shave and clean yourself up and look different. You don't realize how much power that has. Your language is just like this. Well, I'm just keeping it real. That's why you can't make no change. Because they looking at a man who didn't want to be changed. But I'm supposed to get rid of the guns and stop hating and start loving. It won't work, beloved. The way that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has shown us is the way of God. And it'll make the change. So that in the days coming, you know, we intend to make that known much more. But we got friends and we got enemies. And God is going to show us more and more of who our enemies are. And then we're going to find out how strong we really are. And when I say strong, don't mean that you can just take the hit from the enemy. Can you keep the enemy from getting so far in your head that you'll fight against your own brother and sister? So you don't need strength just for you to stand, but to keep the brotherhood up, because it's absolutely necessary in the days coming. Thank you for listening. Assalamu alaikum.
All praise is due to Allah. Keep it going. All praise is due to Allah. For the coming of Master Fard Muhammad, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Did y'all enjoy yourselves today? All praise is due to Allah, calling the people out of darkness into light. Well, brothers and sisters, as you were listening today, it got quiet in here for a few minutes. I was just paying attention. That usually means that the wheels are turning. It usually means you're thinking. And as you heard the voice from this microphone speaking to you, another voice is activating in your own mind. And if you would like to step forward this morning, first of all, let me ask a question. How many today believe that what they heard today is true? Can you raise your hands? All praise is due to Allah. How many of you believe that what you heard today, if more of our people heard this message, it would benefit them? Can you raise your hands? All praise is due to Allah. Well, if you believe that it's true and you believe it'll help our people, how many of you would like to come forward to learn more and be a better helper to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, join on with the Nation of Islam and taking this fight to the streets? How many of you would like to come forward this morning? All praise is due to Allah, and accept your own and be yourself. Don't be shy, don't be nervous. Brothers and sisters, first of all, we thank you for coming out. You're always invited to come back. This is your home. But what we want today is to extend that invitation to at least explore the possibility of making this change and having that guidance and having a brotherhood of men and women that love you, that will help you to get to that next stage in your life, that next step in your journey. Who would like to come forward today? Anyone? All right. Well, we have a secretary's table in the back. If you would like to give you, come on forward, black men. All praises due to Allah. All praises are due to Allah. Allah's with the patient. All praises are due to Allah. Does anyone else like to come forward this morning and accept their own and learn to become themselves? Brother Zebulon. Zebulon. All praises due to Allah. Well, brothers and sisters, this is the purpose of why we do what we do. Continue to come out and bring someone with you that you think may benefit from hearing this message. All praises due to Allah. And lastly, we want to bring up before the ranks a new ex. Our brother Elijah X. Come on up, brother Elijah, and shake the hand of our student regional minister. This brother has done everything he was asked to do, and he did it with a great spirit. Let us guide and protect and look out for our brother. He is the son of Brother Walt X, a brother who I love. May Allah be pleased with Brother Walt and the work that brings us forward. But this Brother Elijah is his own man. So I look forward to seeing him grow in the process. Thank you, Brother Elijah. All praises due to Allah. Let's give him another round of applause. All praises are due to Allah. Thank you all for what you gave and what you have done. Let us close in prayer. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. All praise are due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. Master of the day of judgment in which we now live, thee do we serve, and thee do we beseech for aid. Guide us, O Allah, along the straight path, the path of those upon whom thou hast bestowed favor, not the path of those upon whom thy wrath is brought down, nor of those who go astray after they've heard thy teachings, and say, He, Allah, is one. Allah is He whom none is independent, but upon whom we all must depend. He begetteth not, nor is He begotten, and there's none likened unto Him. And I bear witness that there is no God but Thee, Allah, who appeared to us in the perfected person of Master Fard Muhammad. We are grateful to you, Master Fard Muhammad, for giving us the most honorable Elijah Muhammad to be your messenger Messiah. And we believe the exalted Christ, and we are grateful in these last days for the life example and the life sacrifice of the divine warner in our midst, the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Ameen. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.